Okay, this video is going to show you how to take tiles that are being used as markers and convert them into sprites. Okay, you need to know a couple of things in order to do this. The tiles characters in your maps just perform a list and they're converted into numbers. So the dot in this tile map is tile 0, the X is tile 1, the square bracket, which is what we're going to replace, is tile 2, and so on. Okay, so we need to know a little bit about that. So we want to take this square bracket and turn it into a sprite. Okay, so let's see how we do that. So let's go to our game map. So whatever your map's called, mine's called game map. So this is where we define all the tiles, load the tile map text file in, set the world area up. Okay, so after we've done all this, or just before we add it to the TileMap manager, what we can do is we're going to run a little bit of code that is going to process the map. Okay, so we're going to look at the TileMap ourselves and run through replacing things. Okay, so it didn't exist, so what I've done is I've created it there, and we've right clicked generate like we've done a few times. So I'll just right click. Oh, let me just repeat that. I'll just delete that. So right click over it, generate method stub. Okay. Right. In order to do this, we need a nested set of loops to run through all the rows and columns. So it's just going to be a standard for loop. So from row 0, while row is less than row count, row increase by 1. Do the same for columns. So column equals 0, column is less than column count, column increases by 1. Okay, put pair braces because there's going to be a few steps that we can do. So all that does is run along each row, and every time we meet a row, starting at row 0, we run along each column. Then we go to row 1, and then run through all the columns again. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a switch. So we're going to say examine the current tile. So we're going to say get tile at a certain point, and that point is going to be the current column and the current row. Now what switch allows us to do is examine and say, is it various things? Okay, so we're going to say case, and then if we look back at our map, we said we was going to replace the square bracket, which is tile 2, so 0, 1, 2. Okay, so if it's tile number 2, then we're going to do something. Okay, but tile number 2 isn't very meaningful. Okay, a literal number isn't very good. We're better off replacing this with a constant. Okay, so if we scroll up to the top of our game map, inside the class line, and we just say constant integer, and this is going to just be a target. Do it all in caps, your constants. So set it to 2. Then instead of the 2, we can use the more meaningful word target. So if the tile at the current location we scanned is a target, let's do some work. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to remove the tile. So looking at my map, I'm going to replace the tile with a dot, which was tile 0. Now if you've got nothing at that location that you want a blank, you want no tile, empty tile, then you're going to set a value to -1, but I'm going to use 0. But I'm going to create a constant for this, so this is like the background. So again, I'm going to say constant int background equals 0. So if you're just going to set this to an empty tile, you'd set that to -1. Okay, but I'm using 0 because I've actually got a tile there. So what I'm going to do is going to set the tile at the current position, which was a point defined by the column and row. And what am I going to set it to? Well, I call it background. Okay, so the using the constant makes that really meaningful, rather than just having a 0 there, which wouldn't have meant anything. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my sprite there. So I'm going to say new target sprite. This doesn't exist yet. And keeping in line with how you'll want a lot of your items to exist, they'll want to know what map they're in case they want to do any work with the map. Okay, depending on what this sprite's used for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it the map. So I'm going to say this, because remember we're inside a map definition here. So we can say, right, I'm going to give you this map, but I'm also going to give you the location of this tile. Okay, so I'm going to say tile position center, because by default sprites center align, so we'll use that. And we just want to know what tile, so it's again new point, the one at this column and row. Okay, so we need to make sure we've got enough brackets, so that bracket closes off with that one. We need another bracket on the end. Okay, right, so let's create this target sprite. So right click, generate class. So it's made target sprite. Remember, the first thing we need to do, grab from somewhere the libraries. Okay, so most of your files will have all the libraries at the top. This is going to be a sprite, so I'm going to say public class and then colon sprite to say it's a sprite. Let's go back to our game map. Now that we've built that class, we can now create the constructor, so we can right click again and say generate constructor. And that, all that red squiggle should disappear. So let's go to that constructor, so go to definition. Right, so it's stored the game map for us, which is nice of it, and it's given us this start position. Okay, right, it's called it vector2, which isn't very good, so I'm just going to call it start. See that little red blob? Move your mouse over it and do rename, and it'll change other references for you. Okay, I don't like this being called vector2 either, so I'm going to call that start position. So over the red blob. It's really clunky, that. I don't know why they don't make it nicer. And it renames that one for me there. Okay, so first thing we always do, add the sprite to the engine. So the engine knows it exists and start updating and drawing it. Let's just put that on auto wind. Right, let's define a frame. So the frame I want for this, frame, is, and you could do it from, if you look at the basic sprite video, it showed you how to use texture. I'm just using some textures that are in the engine. So I've got TX target I'm going to use, and that's the texture all on its own, so I don't need to do anything else. Oh, well, I've gone to put S there, I meant to put this. Okay. Right, so I'm going to set the position, so I'm going to say position 2D equals start. Okay, let's just double check. So we've added it to the engine. We've recorded the map that we're in, and we've got that saved now called game map. We've defined a frame for it, and we've given a start position. So let's go back to the map. So in our little process map, running through all the tiles, we've picked up that we found a target tile, and we're going to remove the tile from the map and replace or place a sprite at that location. Okay, so let's just run through that and see if that works. There you see, there's the T. Okay, what I'm going to do, because I've got a mini map on this, on another video, I'll show you how to add a previously made minimap marker to that T sprite so we can see it on the map. Okay, that's it.